Hey young friends, Dr. Bill here. I'm back with another session on the things that Jesus said and taught. And over the last several weeks, we've been paying attention to what Jesus taught in the Sermon on the Mount, as recorded in Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. Today, we're going to begin by taking a look at some of the things that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7. And here's how chapter 7 opens. Jesus said this, "Do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged. And the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrites! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye." Well, Jesus began here by telling us something very important. He says, "Judge not, that you be not judged." Now, lots of times we can take that to mean that we're never ever supposed to judge another person. We're never ever supposed to try to evaluate another person's character or their actions. There's a grain of truth in that because Jesus was essentially saying to us, you better be careful when you do that, because the standard of judgment that you apply to someone else, well, that same standard may be applied to you. Nevertheless, I think Jesus was trying to say something very, very important that gets to how you and I live on a daily basis. Here it is. The truth is, we can't help but make judgments. All the time, we're in the position of having to evaluate whether a choice that we're trying to make is either good or bad, right or wrong. We're trying to make a judgment. Sometimes we're involved with people and we have to make a judgment. Can I trust this person? Is this person going to do what he or she says? We have to make a judgment. So Jesus is not saying, hey, don't ever try to make some kind of assessment about what is right or wrong, or whether something is good or bad. That just comes with the territory of living. Instead, Jesus was trying to help us focus on being careful when we make those kinds of judgments. He was trying to argue that we have to pay attention to how we make those judgments. And the first thing Jesus said was, look, don't be a hypocrite. Don't act as though you have all the insight and all the understanding to be clear in what another person needs or how they need to change their lives. He gives us a humorous example to illustrate this. He says, how in the world, if you've got a big 2x4 stuck in both of your eyes, think of a big poured piece of wood in our eyes, and we're trying to see clearly enough to remove a very tiny little speck out of the corner of someone else's eye. It's a humorous image. Think of somebody trying to walk around with big 2x4s and trying to do something to another person. Jesus says, that's just not going to happen. And so he says, don't play the hypocrite. Don't act like you can make a judgment on someone else's life until you have evaluated your own. And make sure that when you pass a judgment, that you're seeing as clearly as you possibly can. The other thing I think Jesus was on to when he gave us this teaching was he was trying to make us aware that the things that we point out in others, the things that we're liable to come down hard on somebody else for, well, those may be revealing about what we struggle with. Let's try a couple of examples. Do you really get outdone when someone doesn't tell the truth? I mean, when someone chooses to lie to you, do you really just get bent out of shape? Well, certainly none of us like to be lied to. None of us like someone who doesn't tell us the truth. But sometimes we can get very angry at that because, well, we have a problem telling the truth. We're not always dealing honestly with others. Sometimes we shade the truth so that we can look good. And so we pick up what others do because that's stuff that we do. The same can be said if someone uses harsh words to describe other people. He is this or she is that. And we hear that and we get mad because they use such language. But the truth is, maybe it sticks with us because we find ourselves at times doing the same thing. We use ugly and harsh words to talk about other people. What Jesus was trying to say is that whenever we pass judgment on another person, it's like holding up a mirror in front of ourselves. And the things that we judge, well, those are the things about which we ourselves will be judged. The whole business of this boils down to one important truth. Jesus was saying, when you pass judgment, don't be self-righteous. Don't assume that you have all the truth and that you understand everything fully and completely. That's just not the way it is. None of us has that kind of character. None of us has that kind of wisdom or insight. And so Jesus said, stop acting like you're capable and that you're the only person who knows the truth and can tell the truth about what's going on with someone else or some kind of situation. That's the essence of what Jesus was trying to communicate when he says, don't judge, lest you yourself be judged. Well, that'll do it for today's lesson. As always, if you have questions, you know how to find me. You can send me a text, an email, have your parents give me a call. I'll be glad to talk to you anytime. Now, I'm going to take the next couple of weeks off, so I won't be doing any children's lessons until we come back to the very end of June. I'll look forward to meeting with you again then, but in the meantime, I hope your summer's already off to a great start, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.